Normally, when you hear the word pit bull, everyone has a image of a very aggressive dog. Usually you think of this dog as biting, just fighting dog, chasing you, just barking at you and trying to bite you. This is partly due to stereotypes and just information that people don't really know about the dog. We're going to try and go in depth into the nature of the pit bull specifically and try to see if they are naturally aggressive or as us as owners have something to do with it. First, I'm going to try and address the stereotypes that media uses to portray these dogs as an aggressive breed. Second of all, I also want to go into whether the owner has something to do with the way the dog is trained and the way the dog grows up to be, or whether this dog, the pit bull, actually just is aggressive by nature and is violent. Lastly, I also want to go in and emphasize on how these certain dogs affect the community and how they can help other people and everyone around them. For the first one, I want to explain the stereotypes. I want to go into detail about the way that media portrays these dogs as violent. One example of it was a story in Star Tribune by Fort Tom and Powell Joy called "Pitbull Kills a 7-year-old boy in Minneapolis." This was published in 2007. The story goes that this dog had already had a history of biting someone else in the past, but it wasn't considered dangerous, and it wasn't considered a danger to anyone else because the person had trespassed the property and the dog had went after it, and so it was considered a security reason. A year later, this little boy is left at home alone, and the dog is chained up in the basement. So the little boy goes down the stairs and tries to get close to the dog, and the dog bites him, killing him. The parents arrive home and they find him, and by this time it's already too late. And so the dad tries to get the body from the dog away, and the dog decides to bite the father also. And so the last option that the father had was to grab a shotgun and shoot the dog, also killing the dog. The media portrays the dog as bad, and yes, it was also the dog's fault, but they don't ever go into specific detail about what the owner could have done wrong, or what he could have had to prevent this. Most people know you shouldn't leave a child alone with a dog, whether the dog is friendly or not. And in this certain article, the media only states that it was a male dog with a violent issue in the past. It doesn't state whether the parents had actually considered not keeping the child alone at home, or whether they had taken any other measure. One of the people that they were actually interviewing said that the dog was naturally violent, and so they never visited the home. But they never thought about maybe why it was violent. Was it violent because it was chained up in the basement? This dog never socialized and never had any other sort of contact with humans. Second of all, I want to explain if the owner has something to do with a pit bull being aggressive, or is the pit bull simply aggressive by nature? In a study shown actually by Marinelli Lieta, who is faculty of veterinary medicine at the University of Padua, did a research on it named "Quality of Life of the Pet Dog: Influence of the Owner and Dog's Characteristics," and this research was done in 2007. In the results for the owner's influence on the dog, it stated that as long as the owner socialized with the dog, had it socialized with other humans and other dogs also, it would grow up to be a very normal, calm dog with no violent traits to it. Only 2 of the dogs were cut out of this research, and that was due to no strong attachment to the owner. And so this study, Quality of Life of a Pet Dog, actually showed that pit bulls are not aggressive by nature, but they're rather aggressive on how the owner raises them. Third of all, I also wanted to emphasize on how much pit bulls really influence the community. One actually article written by Natalie Kent called Dog Rescue Agency, Bullish on Pit Bulls, was published in 2012, and this person is actually a pit bull rescuer. She has rescued many pit bulls who have been in dog fights, who have been violent, and who have had a history of violence before. And she stated that these dogs are caring dogs, lovable, and can live in a family as long as the owner is nice to them, treats them right, and makes the dog socialize. These dogs have been taken from violent situations, put into behavioral education, and then again adopted out to families. And their history so far has been great, and the dog hasn't returned to the violent state. This shows us that not only do dogs help, but they also can go from a violent life to a pacific life, depending on whether the owner treats them this way or teaches them to be this way. And so this is why I believe that stereotypes, mainly due to the media, causes everyone to see pit bulls in the wrong spotlight. The owner has something to do with the behavior of the dog, not simply the dog, and how these dogs can really benefit the community and help everyone out, and they are not aggressive by nature.